energy, enthusiasm, clear vision. I want to get involved in this. That was almost 18 months.
At a journey of nearly 5,000 miles, it's £75. But environmentalists think aviation already benefits from some generous tax breaks from the Chancellor.
The aviation industry pays no VAT on the fuel that it uses, unlike anybody who drives a motor car. It pays no VAT on the sale of planes, and it pays no VAT on the sale of tickets. Now, that is an immense amount of subsidy from the public purse to the aviation industry.
But there is one corner of the UK where the Chancellor has already reduced passenger duty. That's why we're heading for Belfast. And looking around the bustling streets in the city centre, it's easy to see some of the benefits of the so-called peace dividend. Among the others, there's a scheduled air service linking the United States with Northern Ireland. And here we are. You can now fly direct from Belfast to New York, but Continental Airlines threatened to switch their service to Dublin, so passengers from here could use the new improved cross-border motorway to escape UK passenger duty altogether. Well, that was the cue for the Northern Ireland business and political community to lobby the Chancellor. Result, from Tuesday, passengers flying from here in Northern Ireland to the Big Apple will pay duty at the same rate that I will for the short hop back to Birmingham. My flights between Birmingham and Belfast are with one of 3 airlines who are lobbying the Chancellor. They think his preferential deal for Northern Ireland creates a serious imbalance.
Birmingham needs that support. Birmingham needs regular, good value, high frequency air services, because it's not London. People of the West Midlands want to travel from Birmingham. They don't want to go down to London.
And airport managers here reckon that special relationship between Belfast and Dublin resonates on this side of the Irish Sea too.
Well, Northern Ireland's a special case because it's connected to a separate country by land. We're also connected to a separate country. It's called London. The London economy is still booming by comparison to the regions. So make a case for the regions to have the same sort of support to Northern Ireland, and hopefully some traffic, not all, but some traffic will fly from the regions.
Airport passenger duty nets £2 billion a year for the taxman. So the government may want to equalise our economy, but unless our cash-strapped Chancellor can afford to stem the flow of one of his major revenue streams, parts of the UK will remain more equal than others. No shortage of people queuing up with a little message for the Chancellor at the moment. There's more about this on my blog, incidentally. Chris Pincher, a Chancellor who is committed to rebalancing the economy, as he puts it, has introduced a situation where the tax, if I fly from Birmingham to New York, is £60 per head, and from Belfast, £12. So much for that rebalancing. Well,
as a Midlands MP, I'd love to see the Chancellor be able to do something for Birmingham Airport, a local business.
Do you think he will?
Well, we'll see on the 29th of November. But what he's got to do is make sure that he raises the right revenues to pay for our schools, our hospitals and our infrastructure. And thanks to the last Labour government, which left us with a deficit of 150 billion,
yes, I think we've had the message on this. I just want to push on this. There is a golden opportunity here, in all seriousness, for him to live up to some of that rhetoric about equalising some of the imbalances between, as Paul Kehoe said, the economy, the country called London, and the rest of us out here.
Well, I hope he'll try, and he can do things like equalising some of the banding issues that you've got. For example, it costs more to fly to the Caribbean than it does to the US because of the APD, even though the Caribbean is closer than the US. So I think perhaps he can sort out issues like that. He is consulting with the airports and with the airlines. But at the end of the day, he's got to raise the revenues to pay for our services.
One point that Paul Kehoe made to me, Will Duckworth, is that aviation has more than settled its dues to the environmental obligations because they all pay a wide variety of taxes. They don't need to go sort of further on this one so far as APD is concerned.
Certainly this isn't the place that tax cuts should be done. If we're going to actually tax aviation fuel instead of airport passenger duty, that would be a sensible way of raising £10 billion a year. And we could then use that tax revenue to reduce VAT or do things that the poor people in the world, in the country rather, actually need.
Shabana, how do you balance the business argument, and connectivity and so forth for a major region like ours is important, with the environmental concerns that Will has about aviation as a major polluter?
Well, it does need that balanced approach, and I think it's very important that the government actually shows some leadership on this, and creating an imbalance where Northern Ireland does better than the struggling West Midlands economy is not the way to go about it. And we're already seeing some of the government's rhetoric around being the greenest government ever falling apart. So it's important that the government recognises it needs to find that balance between climate change and protection of the environment, but also being realistic about the role that aviation plays in the growth of our economy, and that needs leadership, and it needs the government to live up to some of the promises it's made. But it absolutely does not mean creating an imbalance that does down a region in our country that really does need a boost. I
did try with the Treasury to get them to separate out what the revenue streams are from regional airports, including Birmingham, compared with the London ones. But surely you could give a bit of ground so far as, you know, the lion's share is always going to come through from the London airports, given that they would remain at the upper rate, according to the suggestion from Paul Kehoe there.
Well, I'm not privy to the innermost workings of the Treasury. I haven't got those breakdowns if you haven't got them from the Treasury. If the Treasury can make it easier for regional airports by reducing the APD for them, all well and good, but in the round we've got to make sure we raise the right amount of revenue to provide for our schools, our hospitals and our infrastructure.
Are your green credentials, as Shabana says, not really living up to all the advanced billing before you came into government?
Well, I don't think so, because we want to make aviation part of the emissions trading scheme, the European emissions trading scheme, which will cap carbon emissions. We want to do that from 2012. But we've got to do that within the context of the international environment in which we live and the international service which aviation provides. We can't do it unilaterally.
Quick word from Will Duckworth on that point.
Well, when Tim Yeo spoke about this in 2006, I think it was, or 2005, he said that a Conservative government would introduce tax on aviation fuel and would look at working with Europe to do that. And it was the Labour government then that said no, they didn't want to.
Quick final word on this before we move on from you, Shabana.
Well, one of the immediate things the government could do is actually respond to the consultation it carried out on air passenger duty, which I think closed in June, and we've still not had a response to that. And that was supposed to be the forum for discussing how we move forward with APD, in particular because of the imbalances with the Caribbean that we've already discussed. It does need to respond.
OK, well, in 4 weeks on Tuesday at least, then comes the autumn statement. So maybe by then we'll know. For the moment, thank you all very much indeed.